Good morning. Welcome to Ways Breakfast. Hashtag what are you saying? This is where we stir up conversations that spark change. And today we're stepping into a subject that touches every young person watching. I am your host, Triumph Akimboye. I am not going to be holding it down alone. I am going to be introducing the beautiful, brilliant, dynamic people that we are going to be having join us to serve today's conversation really hard. We used to think of youth as the season of energy and health, but now we are seeing 20 and 30 years old battling illnesses like diabetes, hypertension, and even heart disease. So what's happening to this generation? Are we carrying too much stress, eating the wrong foods, or simply ignoring warning signs? Of course, my co-anchor is going to be joining us, and we would also be having a medical doctor, Dr. Olufemi Fasake, and he's going to be joining us shortly to shed light on this troubling trend. And more importantly, we are going to be digging into the causes, the risk, and the solutions. Right now, we'll be going on a very short break, and when we return, we are going to be meeting with my anchor for today, that's Goodness Ide, and also take you through the papers for this morning. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Please stay with us.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
All right, welcome back. And now it is time for us to look through the papers of today. And before that, we are going to be hearing from our beautiful and dynamic, brilliant co-anchor, Goodness Ide. Good morning, Goodness.
Good morning. Thank you for the adjective you've used to qualify. Of course, I'm always pretty and brilliant.
Good morning. I hope
you
you're
just
doing fine.
re-emphasize that. I'm very good.
All right. So are you ready to take us through the Punch News?
Of course.
All right.
Let me write down. All right. So on the Punch newspaper this morning, it's really not an exciting thing. No, normally, it's not every day you get to see stories that are pleasing. So this one, we have a mixture of both a sad story and a happy story. So above the masthead, we have federal government rakes 600 billion naira VAT from Facebook and others. Besides that, we have Reps Grill Edun Bagudu over 2024-2025 budget delays. Alongside that, we have Yobe holds mass burial as bandits kill 84. Then, besides the masthead specifically, we have Tinubu orders fresh push to crash food prices. That is interesting. And the Punch leads with 2027. Police and INEC move against early campaigns. We have a rider that says PDP ADC accuses APC of violating rules, call for penalties. IG vows to enforce laws, and after that we have APC denies campaigning, says Tinubu party respects rule of law. NNPP urges caution. And below the masthead, you can see a picture of our most handsome president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the President of France, President Macron, says that Tinubu and Macron have launched amid France political tension. And below the newspaper, the baseline, we have a war terror attack, suspects lost bail bid. Beside, we have police arrest OB of Lagos, foil installation. Please, it's not the OB of yes, Peter Obi LP. Then alongside, we have EFCC quizzes ex-NNPC GMD Kyari over refinery contract. Looking at the story which the newspaper leads with, 2027, police INEC move against early campaign. We can see that the INEC have been advising towards early campaign over the 2027 election, as it is a threat to democracy. So we know all political leaders are at the race towards the 2027 general election, as they gather. The INEC and the Nigerian police have warned political parties against embarking on early campaigns, which is also, like I said, it is against the democracy and even the electoral law. So we have the INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu. He has come out to lament that parties had already kicked off sub-2 campaigns despite clear provisions that restricted such activities to 150 days before the polls. The development has drawn sharp reaction against the political space, while the former INEC boss, Atairu Jega, called for firm measures to curb the trend. And also the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, and African Democratic Congress, ADC, have as well accused that they are not just the only one, accusing all the ruling, that's the ruling party, the All Progressive Congress, APC, of the worst offender. So generally, the INEC boss, that was yesterday, decried that the increasing cases of early political campaigns across the country, labeling them a clear breach of Nigeria's electoral laws, because they are only permitted to carry out electoral campaigns or whatever sub campaigns 150 days before the poll. And also looking at these other stories, that sustainable order fresh push to crush food prices. Let me ask Triumph, before I go into details, what can you just say with just this headline?
Okay, so talking about, Tinubu, is that the last headline that you want to take?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just lead it into Guardian, since I also wanted to talk about it. So Tinubu has come out to order FEC committee to actually crash food prices. It was in the news that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was called on the Federal Executive Council, that's FEC committee, to move swiftly and implement measures to further reduce food prices across the country. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, disclosed this, during a capacity building workshop for Senate correspondents in Nigeria. Now, what they are trying to focus on is ensuring the safe passage of farm produce across transport routes to cut logistic costs. And then, they also went further to talk about the fact that Tinubu's broader vision of food sovereignty beyond availability is to ensure affordability, accessibility, and nutrition on a sustainable basis. Now, this is a great one. right? It is a laudable one. However, I am thinking on the fact that because it's coming out to say that the government is set to roll out a farmer soil health scheme to boost productivity, and then, you know, some kind of initiative to mobilize resources and empower
the rural farmers.
Yes. As much as this sounds like a laudable one, and the way they put the headlines together, they made it seem like, you know, the president actually come out to say that, oh yeah, you know, slash the food prices, you know, control the whole market. But it is really not looking like that. It is really, really not looking like that.
Its goal is just to ensure that the food are affordable for millions of Nigerians, and they are accessible as well as nutritious. So I think in a way, it's also a good idea that is coming up with this. Because recently, let me just tilt a bit away from that. So I wanted to get, I don't know what, you know, last week, or was it on Monday, we were talking about this NUPENG and this petrol association people that were like, are they making a collaboration with the electricity power holding in Nigeria? Yesterday, I wanted to get fuel, and I went to NNPC filling station, right? They were selling. All of a sudden, they went off. I think they said their pump, or probably their boss was around. Okay. I was like, asking why? Because it's not maybe they've gone.
Yesterday in the news, they said they suspended the strike.
Already. So I was also wondering that what's going on. Then it occurred to me, people were like, Mom, probably they want to make it scarce, like this scarcity of fuel. After that, they will probably increase the fuel money. So all of a sudden, I went to meet one of the customer and this thing, and I asked that what happened. Like, their boss told them that they should turn off, that they are not selling again till tomorrow. Yes, NNPC. Even both NNPC and Mobile along Mowe of Father Road, none of them sold after that was. It's still in the afternoon.
So are we going to say that maybe their demands? But according to them, I mean, we heard from them that they said that, you know, they've decided to suspend this strike. I mean, I think I mentioned it yesterday that they've decided to suspend
maybe they didn't get the information yet.
That's funny. So let us look into some other beautiful stories making headlines in The Guardian News. The screaming headline here says the federal government boasts 80% 2024 budget execution, cites procurement orders for 2025. I don't know why they are coming out to always boast about, you know, budgets, execution, and all of that. And then the next thing you will see on the paper tomorrow is that they are now coming out to say that, oh, they need to borrow some money. And then we have another one. And some of the stories making headlines, grid collapse may worsen as Gencos lose 66 points, 26 billion naira. Although they are actually working on the national grid, because it is so funny that our country has started to
I was surprised when you made mention of it, but you didn't have like yesterday.
Well, we had light yesterday. We had power. That's why I'm saying that they already said that they were fixing it.
Oh, okay.
That was as at yesterday. So I don't know why Guardian has decided to, you know, point it out that way. Now to a very, very, to the story of my interest, aside the fact that Tinubu orders Fair Committee to crash food prices, is a story you would find on the page 2 of The Guardian News. And it says, Nigeria records 15,000 suicide cases yearly. This is a very sad one.
OMG.
15,000 suicide cases. That's a whole lot in 1 year to be happening to a country. So I was trying to look at, you know, trying to read more about the report, and they were coming out to say that, okay, they got to this figure, trying to celebrate the 2025 World Suicide Prevention Day. However, our country is actually confronted with a suicide crisis, and there is an estimate of 15,000 deaths annually. The more sad part of it is that these cases of suicide is more between the ages of 15 to 29 years old. So it is beyond me. And then there's also the part of the story that actually says that these suicide cases happens more with low and middle income earners. 15 to 29.
Could it be as a result of depression? Because I mean, the economic situation of the country, you know. over the time, it's not something that is totally sweet. Let me use that word. So, and if we're having the age bracket of 15 to 29, that particular age is still young. We still have some of the youth there, and most times something that usually occurs is that they are quickly or prone to having this depression and being in a depressive state.
Or thinking that there is nothing more to life. And I'm like, there's still so much more to unfold about life. Your 20s, your 30s, all those periods, there is still so much more. Some of the people that we celebrate today, some of the big people, the wealthy people, and even the ones that are not wealthy, some of the parents, some of the people that we celebrate today, they are as a result of not just what happened in their 20s, but process that has been followed over time. But we have heard and then we have realized that, this generation that we're having right now, most times are not like calm like we used to have it back then. And it's also going to lead to our topic of interest for today, which is as regards the fact that people, the illnesses that you will find with older people, you're not finding it amongst young people. So I really can't wait for us to start digging into the topic, right? But I just hope that we have a better statistics, in the coming years. But is there really something that we can't face the federal government as regards this? We just have to talk to the youth.
Well, we also need to hold the federal government accountable, because if they provide good healthcare sector, like healthcare equipment at the hospitals, and make it very affordable, and also having qualified doctors, not charlatan doctors, then I think our health rate in the country will increase.
So my heart also goes to, to the youth. Sometimes the things you allow to become negative things that actually change your mindset, that makes you begin to feel like, oh, maybe that this is all to life and all of that. Sometimes all you might just need is to readjust and realign your thoughts, all right? So let us go on a very short break right now. When we return, we are going to be talking about our interesting topic for this morning, and we will be having our medical doctor, Dr. Olufemi, joining us this morning. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back, our dearest viewers. This morning, we are going to be looking into the issue, the topic, too young to be sick. Aging diseases now eating the young youth, and we will not be doing this alone because we have very little knowledge about medicine, right? So we are going to be having an expert join us, and that is Dr. Olufemi Fasakin. Dr. Olufemi Fasakin, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
All right. So for a long time, certain illnesses like hypertension, arthritis, diabetes, stroke, and even some cancers were seen as conditions that only came with old age. But today, the story is changing, and not for the better. More and more young people, some as young as their 20s and 30s, are being diagnosed with these so-called aging diseases. In fact, medical reports have shown that lifestyle illnesses are rising at alarming rates. For example, the World Health Organization estimates that over 30% of Nigerian youth is at risk of hypertension. And now this is a disease we once considered that is for people above 50 compared to what we have 20 years ago. Now, when hypertension cases among youth were so rare, they barely even made the statistics. The trend doesn't stop there. A 2023 report by the Nigerian Cardiac Society revealed that cases of heart-related diseases in young adults have doubled in the last decade, while diabetes has become common among teenagers, largely due to poor diet, stress, and sedentary lifestyles. Back in the 1990s, doctors mostly worried about infections among young Nigerians. Today, they are treating them for illness that belong in the geriatric wards. Now, here is the big concern for all of us. If young people today are battling with the old people's diseases, what will aging look like for this generation? Because I am wondering. So the big questions that we have this morning, the big things that we are going to be discussing is what's behind this shocking rise, which is something that we would just love to open up with Dr. Olufemi. What do you think is behind this shocking rise in aging disease among the youth?
Thank you so much, Triumph, once again. I'm so glad to be here. So the thing about aging diseases, or as you said, diseases that are supposed to be elderly, but we can now see them, is that, the times have changed. A lot of them, before now, we used to have people say something like, okay, it's just salt, and all of those kind of things. Watch your diet, salt intake, things like that. But, in recent times, with the development, like all this technology and everything like that, for example, we have social media now. A lot of people are having so much of sedentary lifestyle. People are just sitting on their phones all day. You almost don't find a youth now that doesn't have a phone. Even those who are in their 16, 14, even from a very young age, around 4 years old. So a lot of things have changed. Our diet has changed over the years. In the United States, for example, when you take a look at with all the advancement and everything, there are a lot of things that were not there before. Now we have cars, we have advanced cars, we have all of these kind of things. So many things expose people today to these risks that normally should take time before they develop. Take smoking, for example. Before now, we used to have people just say, oh, for example, in the Nigerian culture, you didn't really know much about smoking. But everywhere now, you see people smoking all over the street. I'll give you an example at my workplace. Yesterday, I was at work and then I met a child. I think she was just, 10 years old or 9 years old. And it was very late in the night. We brought this lady because she was unable to walk. All of a sudden, she was unable to walk. So I was wondering, what's the problem? How would this very young child be unable to walk? And it was funny to me by the time we checked her weight. And I found out that this, I think it was 9-year-old girl is actually 70 kilograms. Now, I wondered what was my weight, at this point. So we are suffering from a lot of things. Childhood obesity is part of it. People having lung cancer at a very young age. A lot of people find it difficult to even stand up, move around. People don't exercise anymore. It's only like recently that it's beginning to come up again. People are now beginning to take precautions. But the vast majority of the people, because if you look at Nigeria, it is said that we have about, 250 million Nigerians. And I don't know how true that statistic is based on the last census that was done. But you see now that the vast majority of the people who know about this thing is so small compared to what you think knows. For example, we think Lagos is because for example I'm in Lagos, we think that Lagos is populated. Wait until you get to places like the north, where people are not even so exposed to some of this knowledge. So many things can be the cause of this, depending on what we are looking at.
All right. Thank you for that. Something else that I think we should hear about what he thinks about is the fact that, as a doctor, you're actually in the field. The best thing we can do is to come with reports, what somebody has posted on social media, and then we are coming up with the conclusion of the fact that, the diseases that we are finding among older generation, now we are finding it among the younger people. But I will first, hear from Goodness as regards the fact that, have you actually experienced the fact that there are some illnesses that you have seen among the older generation that you're now finding with the younger generation? Do you subscribe to that? Before I now actually ask about the practical things that our doctor has seen in their own field as regards, I want to hear some of these illnesses that is more common among the younger generation than we have it in the older generation.
Okay, to start with first, right? Nobody is above a particular illness, whether you're young or you're old, right? It's depending on how your health is declining. So when you see some, probably, okay, let's use an example of those when we're, let's say, in the 90s, 80s, 70s, and presently now comparing to them. As at then, the way they eat and the kind of foods they eat contributes to their health. They said whatever you take in contributes to your health. It's either make you more healthier or reduce your health rate or your state. And compared to now, we have a whole lot of processed food. So that's where even technology even comes to place, like when a country is getting advanced. Because as at then, really don't know much about processing of foods, right? The only way how we know how to probably preserve a food is maybe boiling it or keeping it somewhere. But now we have microwaves, we have so many things. We have different ways of preserving foods. Even some people resort into using chemicals to preserve their foods and everything, which was not like that during those times. But because of the era we have, an era of knowledge, now knowledge has expanded, that we know that, we could also use this to preserve some foods which present day children or even the young ones now consume, unlike previously. So I think that's why we're having some diseases that was mostly found among the old people, and now we are finding it in the young. That's why I said nobody's above it. So if you see, a lot of us, we eat junks. You see drinks, you see people eat gala. You were complaining about one gala you ate one other time. I don't know what happened to the sausage and everything. So you can see it could be because of what you used to preserve it for that long term. And something, there was like a reaction. And
then
it's already out
itself
to
is
sell.
good.
But you still ate it. So that's just it. Depending on, it's because of the advancement and what people now use to preserve their food, how we eat a lot of processed food.
Okay, so that would lead to what Dr. Olufemi is going to be talking about as regards the fact that what are some of the cases, the illnesses that you have seen that usually it used to be common among the older generation, and then we have it now from your experiences?
So, some of these diseases, there are a number of them. There are not so many, but they are becoming more rampant these days. One of them, like I mentioned, is that obesity. A lot of people now, just like what Goodness said, a lot of people now, preservatives is like the other. People are just using so much of junk food, eating things with preservatives. I had to make a decision personally that recently, because a lot of us doctors, we are actually at fault of this. We will tell people that they should not drink certain things. People ask us questions and say, don't drink this, don't drink Coke. But many of us, we are actually the first people that actually cook, and that's because of the kind of work we do. We need these things to stay up. But on the long run, these things actually damage the body. Diabetes, I've seen. Okay, let me start by saying that there are certain diseases that can still be seen in young people as much as we've seen older people. There's really no disease that is just on its own. Like in medicine, there's something we say never say never, you know. But at the same time, there are common things that occur on based on the age, based on the demographic, based on where this person is coming from, and all of that. So let me just go straight to talk about some of the diseases like you asked for. We have diabetes these days is on the rise because people just take there's so much of sugar in our foods these days. Was it yesterday or I think 2 days ago? I went out to a canteen, just to quickly eat. I went to eat bread, our normal bread and ewa. And as I was, even before I ate the food, the woman that was selling to me was saying, there's so much of sugar in it. And, I thought it was a joke until I actually ate it. I don't know what's inside the beans, but it was like as if I was just eating sugar. That was the first time I think I've ever paid attention to it. And maybe if she didn't call it out, I would not have paid attention to it. So there's so much of preservative, so much of junk food that people are eating. Even it has even crept into the things that we should expect that should be normal. I've met children that are diabetic because I just finished from pediatrics. Children that are diabetic, obesity, another one. Hypertension. I'll talk about hypertension in a certain way because I remember a particular night where, and this really pains me a lot. There was one of our staff. In fact, there are two instances. There was one of our staff I think that was about 4 months ago, who, she used to work as a cleaner in the accidents and emergency. It was so sad. So she went for a video that particular night. She had been diagnosed with hypertension. And I think at the point she stopped taking the medications. And, one of the things I've noticed about you is permit me to take some time, because I think when people start paying attention to their health, it will really do us a lot of good, especially at this. So this woman was our staff, and then she went for a vigil. And as she got to the vigil, I think they were praying a lot. I think it was it April time or so. But she had not been taking her medication. So they brought her to the accident and emergency, and I was the one that night. And all they said was she collapsed. Of course, they started saying that whether it is she was praying that the devil attacked her or something. But I just knew that it could not be something ordinary, because this was when they even told us that our staff. And we had to rush, we had to do so many injections. And by the time we did a brain scan, we saw a very massive brain. And that just shows that she had a stroke. Ultimately, we lost her, and it was very, very sad. Very sad. People were crying in the hospital. And I was just thinking that these things could have actually been prevented if she had just taken precautions. You see hypertension on the rise these days. Of course, hypertension is not like something we can tell that this is exactly what causes it. But at the same time, when a person has family history, you have to pay attention. I come from a family where these things have happened before. Maybe your parents, your dad is hypertensive, your mom or someone, whether your grandparents, or you have a first-degree relative that has some of these diseases. Then you have to start taking precautions early enough. You have to start paying attention to it early enough. Even if you don't have any family history, because I noticed that some people never even ask, they never even care to find out. So everybody's always saying, it can never be me, it can never be me, it can never be my family. Health does not really work that way. It is until you get to the point where you actually need help that you know how important health is. There is this adage that says that health is wealth, and a lot of people don't really pay attention to it, but indeed it is health and it is wealth. And let me just speak there, because there are so many of them. If I start to talk about them, I think I'll mention one. Just permit me. So one thing I've seen recently, especially in children, is this thing of infant formula. And I'll bring it up here because WHO has already told us, that a child that is born should be on breast milk, exclusive breast milk. That is, you should not give them any other. It should just be breast milk. not even water. You should not really give them any other, like, they don't need any other, because everything, the food that is there, everything that you want to give them is there. But these days, we still have people who believe, giving children different things, that can actually put them at risk. And one of the things I've seen, in practice recently, that children who they start on infant formula are actually at risk of developing asthma. They're at risk of developing all these allergic diseases later in life. At times, the child can just come in and once they're telling you this child is not well and you're already thinking asthma. One of the first questions I ask them is, did you give your child infant formula? I'm not saying exclusively to talk about asthma, because family history plays a part of it. But even to things like that, when you ask them, many of them will now confess that actually, they started at birth. The doctor never really counseled them because, they didn't really want to be breastfeeding in public and all. So things like that. So there are so many people. If I start to talk about them, I don't want to take all the time.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Olufemi, for listing some of these illnesses that are common among the youth. And I love the fact that you and Goodness were able to state out the fact that, okay, actually, sometimes some of these illnesses is not like age-bound or something, but maybe youth should actually begin to check their family health history and then study it and avoid certain things so that they are not at risk early. So we're going on a very short break right now. When we return, we are going to be looking into another fantastic side of the story. Please stay with us.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
All right. Yes, we are still discussing about the topic. We are trying to look into some of the illnesses that we used to have, more popular with the older generation, and it's becoming more and more common. We have been looking into this topic with my partner, Goodness Ideye, and of course, Dr. Olufemi Fasakin. And to unveil the next part, Goodness is going to be talking to us.
All right. This question is directed to Dr. Olufemi. Thank you so much for joining this show. So still in the section where we're talking about some diseases like stroke, hypertension. Now, I want to go directly, starting with young babies within the month of 0, 3, 4. We've had certain issues where they have, some of them rather, do come up with high diseases, like high sicknesses. Some could have, like I've seen a young child that has glaucoma, which is related to people of within the old age bracket, glaucoma. We've seen cataract. What do you think is really a result of these? I mean, a child of 9 years old, 8 years old, coming up with that. What can you say about it?
Thank you so much once again for having me, Goodness and Triumph. So, talking about childhood diseases, for example, a cataract, as you mentioned, glaucoma. The thing is that there are some diseases that we cannot exactly say what this is cause. But we have things that we call risk factors. Now, there's something we call congenital glaucoma, like you mentioned, and congenital glaucoma simply means that it's something that had started even from the womb, that already started while the child was in the womb. And like the other one you mentioned, the child having, there's something, cataract, congenital cataract, congenital glaucoma. These are ideas that we generally expect that it develops over years, but sometimes it can actually occur earlier. They are not that common, actually. You don't see them commonly, but they do happen. And some of the causes of all those kind of diseases, especially in babies, you have to now go back to before they were born, what happened before they were born. And sometimes the risk can be a woman who, while she was pregnant, she got ill, especially in the first 13 weeks, or the first trimester. That is the point where the baby is actually developed, like they develop the heart, develop the eyes, develop all of those organs. So if there's a problem around that period of time, that's when the child can be at risk of so many things. So you see that for any woman who wants to get pregnant, any woman who wants to deliver or is pregnant already, we usually say go to an antenatal clinic. And in the antenatal clinic, they'll counsel you on something. They'll put you on 2 main drugs, this iron-containing drug, fesolate, and folic acid, that can also help in the development of the child. So these are the ways to prevent those things that you have just mentioned. But sometimes you cannot exactly rule them out. If there is maybe a family history of a cancer, you'll see that there's a family history. It means that whatever would have predisposed the parents or the grandparents can also predispose the child. Environmental factors is also there. There are some of these diseases that are caused by a woman who smokes, And I'm being very particular about it because, it is the woman that actually carries the child. It's not like the man is useless or something, but many of the times, anything that will go wrong we would point first to the mother. What did the mother do? What was the lifestyle of the mother before she gave birth to this child? So these are some of the things. But the fathers are also very important because the father is the support. The father is the one who will help the child or help the mother, in the development of the child, help her, feed her, provide, for her, for those who really think about those things or believe in things like that, man should be pregnant and all. So these are actually some of the causes or things that predispose to those kind of diseases.
Okay, Dr. Femi, sorry. So there's this situation I want to ask, right? Because we know that older people, when they are growing old, they tend to be probably tilting forward. Yeah. I don't want to say hunchback. It's not hunchback. Probably because of they don't have that stamina again. But we see some of these things. Right, in the younger ones. I have been trying to fathom what could be the result of it because they are not old, they are not growing old, they are still very young, their bones and everything are still agile. Funny thing. So, no, it's also because it's something that is pertaining to older people. You see, most older people, they tend to arc their back, right, to gain support when walking. But we see some of these things among the young ones. So what do you think could really be the issue?
Wow. Thank you for bringing this up, because I think this affects so many people. Back pain, it affects so many people. And you see, the body tells you, it's like, for those who believe in God, I am a Christian, I believe in God. And I think the vast majority of us from this part of the world believe in God. You see, God created the body in such a way that people will, the body tells you when something is wrong. When you already start having pain, pain is a very good thing. People think pain is bad. So when they have pain, they come to the doctor and say, "Doctor, give me something to take pain." Or some of them even just start taking, just say, "The doctor, I was on morphine." Some will even tell you that they have ulcer, but that give me the drug for ulcer, but then prescribe the one for the pain too. And some of these medications, just like a concoction, they are fixing the work and they are spoiling it. But that's what we are saying regarding the back pain. You see, when you have, it starts from your posture. There's actually a way, there's actually a right way to walk. There's a right way to sit down. There's even a right way to lay down in bed. And for a lot of people, they just walk anyhow. Depending on where you are from or those you grew up with, you develop some traits or some characteristics, the way you talk, your accent, the way you walk. You learned it from somewhere. But one thing I would say is we can change that. All of these things can actually change, because it is those things that are not eventually to this that you're talking about, this hunchback. What happened in the older generation, and why one of the reasons I would say why they have this back pain and this slouching is that, you see, in those days they were into a lot of hard labor, into a lot of physical labor, which is actually good. Some people might say it's a form of exercise, but they had so much of strain on their back. For example, people who have to carry water, water troughs for a very long distance. You see some of these women, or some of these people who they are not so well to do, who sometimes they are picking bottles all over the streets, and then they are carrying these very big bags and they are carrying it like this. Many of them, you see them bend forward and carry it. And you see, over time, those things begin to affect the back. A person's occupation can affect the back. A bricklayer, for example, there's always have to carry a pan on his head, or all these women who sell shit, or all these people who they're carrying things. All of these things are putting strain on the back, and that's actually what predisposed them to having those things. But you see, in this generation, it's like what should have actually made it easier with technology is actually making it worse now, because you see a lot of people slouching. When people want to sit down and they say Netflix and chill, or they want to chill, you see the way they even lie down. You're not lying down well. You're just covering your back on the chair. A lot of people don't really know how to sit. When you sit, you ought to sit. I can't really, call the setup, but I would have tried to show us how to actually sit up. There's how to sit up. You're supposed to sit up straight, like this, for example. I was even sitting wrongly, So over time, these things begin to affect your spine, because the spine is in such a way that it has natural curves. So when you are sitting in a way that defeats those curves, because all those curves, they are dissipating the pressure of your weight from gravity and everything. But when you are beginning to sit in a way that is changing those curves, you will now have over time. And these things will not, it is very subtle, very, very silent. Over time, that's when you begin to have, you just see that suddenly you can just be walking. You just say, you just see someone holding their back, or they're doing like this, and they're saying their back is paining them. And for a lot of youths now, people are just watching all this chiropractor and stuff. People just want quick fix. They're not really thinking about the long term, that, okay, they need to change their lifestyle. They need to start exercising more. They need to start sitting properly, So these are the things that really affect a lot of people these days. And that's why you see people now beginning to have this slouching and this poor posture or something.
All right, thank you so much for that. I really love the fact that, in fact, we were talking about the fact that maybe goodness is not even sitting very well.
Yeah, I'm sitting well.
Thank you so much for pointing that, Dr. Olufemi. Before we conclude, I just want to, if you can quickly touch on something, which is as regards the fact that stress these days, I think is different from the way stress is, back in the day. As much as it feels like they do more of the hard labor, I think the younger generation, they are more stressed than the older generation because they are chasing career, academic pressure, you have the social media pressure, you have different thing, anxiety. They have so many things to deal with. Sometimes I wonder the number of things that, as like a young individual is having to go through just so much at a time. You're having to deal with the fact that, how am I going to journey through life? This, that, just quite a number of things. So is it that we could have it that maybe these things places us at high risk of certain illnesses, or maybe some things like something like what Goodness said, that some things that is now supposed to be happening to the older generation is now beginning to happen to you because of the kind of stress that you have to undergo?
Yeah, exactly. Like you've just said, stress. What is stress? I think let me start from there. Stress is actually like the body's natural response to situations that put you under pressure, or stressful situations, I would say. And there are actually different types of stress. When you just say stress and stressed, the question that comes to mind is what kind of stress are you talking about? When people tell you that they're stressed, many of the time about psychological kind, the mental kind. So there's emotional stress, there is physical stress, I would have said there's also spiritual stress, because there are physical stress, spiritual and financial, but all of these things come together and begin to affect the health. One of the things I learned from medical school was that, especially when I was doing family medicine, when I was learning family medicine, was that, you see, the mind has a very great role to play in the health of an individual that a lot of people don't pay attention to. Sometimes people go to the hospital and begin to complain of all sorts of disease, they'll tell you, the one that everyone annoys me, sorry to say here, but the one that annoys me the most is when a patient just comes and start telling you, like, they've not told you anything, just tell you, I have malaria and typhoid. Like, from where to where? How did you know? How did you know it was typhoid? But I won't go into that. But you see, many of the time people tell you that they have malaria. What they mean is they feel weak. There's a kind of body weakness we call malaria, actually, and that's just they're telling you that they feel weak. Some of these other things put together, they will just telling you, they have leg pain, they have headache. But when you get to the doctor, many of the time, you find out that it's possible that a person can be having physical symptoms of, they're having fever, they're having these things, and it is just psychological. It is just because this person is really stressed. I don't know if you ever had a stressful day at work or something, but you just feel like, I'm tired, I'm tired, like, I'm done. You maybe Monday morning or some people, they wake up, just feel like, no, I'm sick. They want to send a sick leave. They want to go on a sick leave. You see, all of these things, stress really is something that is very strong. But knowing how to manage stress, I think that's where a lot of people fall short. One of the most important things. When you want to manage stress, and I will hone down on the one that is psychological, I think the other ones people just need to work on them. For example, the posture, the physical stress, exercising, all those other things, good nutrition. I think all of those things will help. The physical one, the financial one, like you have to just, everyone has to work.
There's just so much.
Let me not talk about that. But you see, the emotional one, because everything goes back to the mind. The physical one goes back to the mind. Financial one, breakfast, or they are in all sorts of things.
All right,
It goes back to the mind.
doctor.
It goes back to
Okay, doctor, if you could, help sum up, everything and put them together in one word. Our time is fast spent, but there's still so much to talk about. Unfortunately, we'll just have to call it a wrap.
Yeah. So, thank you so much. So, what I would just say for stress is let everyone begin know how to manage themselves. Know how to manage yourself. Your body speaks, and whenever your body speaks, listen to your body. If you know you are stressed, take a break off social media. Sometimes some of these things that we see, they affect us. Sometimes we see bad news, and sometimes you should actually decide that you don't want to listen to it. Read your Bible. Pray to God. Tell yourself good things, because there's so much of negativity there, and these things can begin to affect us. So I think that is where I will just stop. Thank you.
I hope you have also had a great time. See you tomorrow at the same time. Bye.